Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so have you ever noticed that the exact moment you finally decide to get your life together, the universe and, well, specifically the people around you just seem to push back? Like, hard? Seriously, you aren't crazy for noticing this. Today, we're diving into a really powerful piece of Stoic philosophy that explains exactly why your personal growth almost always sparks this unexpected and sometimes super intense backlash from the crowd. We're going to break down the psychology behind all of this, map out the literal phases of resistance you're going to face, and finally, look at the incredible reward waiting for you on the other side. All right, let's jump right in by just acknowledging this totally bizarre reality. Doing genuinely good things for yourself actually brings out the absolute worst in other people. It sounds completely backwards, doesn't it? I mean, we're always taught that if we do well, people will cheer for us, right? But the philosophy we're examining today rips the band-aid off that comforting little illusion. It forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question. Does your success actually make people angry? And the unequivocal, hard truth is, yes, it does. Over the next few minutes, we're going to explore exactly how your positive actions trigger some deeply negative reactions. It starts with something incredibly simple. You just decide to be happy. You're not bragging, you're not showing off, but suddenly, your good mood is treated like a literal personal attack by someone who's having a bad day. It's almost comical, honestly, how your baseline happiness inexplicably triggers anger in the crowd. Simply existing in a state of joy entirely disrupts the misery or, the apathy of the people around you. It's like your happiness becomes a direct insult to their dissatisfaction. It's a fascinating, if kind of exhausting, dynamic where your positive emotional state is just actively resented. But man, it doesn't stop at your emotions. When you shift from simply being happy to actually being productive, that's when you trigger something much, much deeper: fear. Now, why fear? Well, because your forward momentum actively creates anxiety in people who are just standing still. Think about it. When you're highly productive, you're creating change. You're completely altering the status quo. And for folks who are just casually drifting through life, change is terrifying. Your productivity signals that the environment is moving forward, and they're terrified of being left behind, or worse, of being asked to step up their own game. So this progression naturally bleeds into how you take care of yourself, too. Take physical health, for example. When you start eating right and building up your strength, you don't magically inspire the masses. Instead, you become a walking, breathing mirror. It's kind of like being the one person who brings a crisp, healthy salad to the office while everyone else is going to town on a box of donuts. You aren't saying a single word to them, but your very presence forces them to look at their own neglected health and poor habits. They don't feel uplifted by you. They feel bad, because your visible discipline violently highlights their total lack of it. And as your discipline compounds, so does their discomfort. Have you ever set a strict schedule and, actually stuck to it? That kind of unyielding control over your own life generates a really profound sense of guilt in the people watching you. Basically, your discipline evaporates the excuses of everyone around you. They feel guilty because your visible effort is a constant, nagging reminder of what they could be doing but just aren't. They know they could be working hard. They know they could be in control, but they aren't. And your effort forces them to confront that massive gap. All of these reactions basically boil down to what we can call the mirror effect. This is this grand sweeping theory of human behavior, where your pursuit of the extraordinary instantly makes observers insecure. Simply standing firm by your decisions, that reminds other people of their own broken promises and indecisions. And taking total, radical responsibility for everything that happens to you, that makes the people around you feel weak and vulnerable. Your strength doesn't comfort them, it exposes their fragility. In a nutshell, your excellence is essentially a massive spotlight shining directly onto their deepest vulnerabilities, which inevitably leads to breaking the unwritten social contract. Society often runs on this tangled web of mutual dependencies and, let's be honest, shared complaints. But the moment you become truly self-reliant, meaning you completely stop asking for validation or help or permission, you disrupt that entire social hierarchy. People who derive their self-worth from you needing them suddenly feel entirely inferior when you prove that you actually don't. You step out of the collective complaining circle and step right into your own power, leaving them feeling completely inadequate. And this leads us to the ultimate dynamic in this whole journey. Power isn't necessarily something you take from other people. It's forged by volunteering for the heavy lifting that they actively run away from. When you habitually choose the hard path, you build an undeniable, towering capability. Observers look at you and realize, wow, they absolutely cannot manipulate, control, or compete with someone who is willing to endure what they won't.
By choosing to do what's difficult, you basically render those same people completely powerless whenever they're in your presence.
But here's the catch. Refusing to play their game has a severe social cost. If you reject victimhood, you absolutely infuriate the people who use their circumstances as a sort of currency for entitlement. You're basically invalidating their entire worldview. And in today's world, if you refuse to participate in the latest internet outrage or mass hysteria, you're the one painted as the crazy person. When everyone around you is panicking or just blindly drifting along with the mob, and you remain completely grounded and stoic, well, stepping out of that collective mindset makes you an immediate target for the crowd's wrath.
So how does this wrath actually play out in the real world? Because let's face it, people don't just sit quietly and feel bad about themselves in a vacuum. Oh no, they project it outward. When your growth threatens their stagnation, they will actively try to drag you right back down to the safety of their level. And this isn't just random flailing. It follows a very specific escalation of resistance. A resistance that is perfectly designed to test exactly how serious you actually are about this new path.
This resistance follows a perfectly predictable, escalating timeline. It's like a gauntlet you just have to pass through. First, the people who are casually drifting through life will start by trying to casually ignore you, secretly hoping your newfound discipline is just a cute temporary phase. But when you persist, they escalate to ridicule. They'll start making fun of your efforts. If you still don't quit, they move on to insults, actively trying to damage your self-esteem. And finally, when they realize you are actually leaving them in the dust, they will actively attack and punish you. This right here, this is the ultimate test of your resolve. Enduring that gauntlet is, frankly, incredibly painful. It is really, really hard to be attacked simply for doing the right thing for yourself. But listen, you have to radically reframe these attacks. This pushback isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's absolutely not a signal that you should just stop and blend back in with everyone else. No, it is a necessary filter. It's the final trial by fire. It is literally the ultimate phase of endurance that you have to survive before a massive fundamental shift happens in how the rest of the world perceives you. Because here is the ultimate payoff. If you can endure all these phases with hope and with faith, the world turns towards you for leadership and guidance. Enduring the friction, the ridicule, and the flat-out attacks without losing your hope, that is exactly what forges true leaders out of the ashes of criticism. The very same crowd that tried to tear you down and punish you for your discipline will eventually recognize your unbreakable foundation. Once they realize they can't break you, they will pivot, and they will start looking to you to guide them. Which leaves us with one final, huge question to ponder today. Will you endure the resistance to become the leader they actually need? The burden of excellence is incredibly heavy, mostly because it forces you to inevitably trigger the deep insecurities of the masses. But the path to true leadership requires you to survive their backlash. So try to reframe their friction. It's not a punishment. Actually, scratch that. It's more like the exact unavoidable price of admission to your own leadership. So keep building, keep enduring, and honestly, just let them watch.